I'm going to come onto a point that you've been making for years and years and years about the major teams playing against the smaller countries. But before we make that point, let's hear from Nepal head coach Stuart Law, who, by the way, holds a international coaching record. He's coached more national teams than anybody else. Leaves Mickey Arthur in the dust on 4. Stuart Law is on to his 7th team with Nepal, 7th national team. This is him discussing ways in which he thinks Nepal and the other teams can close the gap on full member nations.
First and foremost, we need a proper domestic structure. Constant conversations are going on about how we can create a first-class structure. That's why the Test nations are as good as they are. They have pathways from very young ages right through to the senior national men's and women's team. To replicate that is going to take a lot, and unfortunately it takes a lot of money. So we need to find a way how we can maybe take parts of a structure and implement it into our cricket, finding the time, finding the grounds to be able to do so. These things will take time, but the way that cricket in Nepal is building, the NPL is really helping us now. That'll help generate funds, but also help generate better players underneath this group. So we're a couple of years away from seeing the real benefits and the role that will play in our success in the future. And hopefully from the NPL we also can get a multi-day format started, because I think the longer formats is where you learn how to play the game. The shorter formats is where you have your fun. So we can get a multi-day format being played as well. It'll just make your bowlers harder. Your batsmen understand that batting time is important. Sometimes the way we go out to bat, it looks like we've only got 3 balls to hit as many sixes as we can, and that's all we do. You've always got longer than you think. So the longer format will help teach our boys and the future players how to play the game properly.
That's Nepal coach Stuart Law. Harmy, actually, can we just jump straight on to Logan van Beek, because he also was asked about long-form cricket and whether the Netherlands had aspirations to play Test cricket, and then we'll just comment afterwards. Here's Logan van Beek saying it would be very, very difficult for the Netherlands to play red ball cricket.
When you go from T20 to one day to Test match, it's a different game. T20, on the day, as we can see, any team can beat another team on the day. One day cricket, it gets a little bit longer, so the quality normally rises. When you come to Test cricket, quite often the better team will win on the day. And that's where the pool of players needs to be, and the first class system needs to be at a level that is challenging and competitive, so that when you go and play Test cricket, that you're actually competitive. Right now, the Dutch only play T20 in one day in their club system. There's no first class cricket. No one plays first class cricket in the Netherlands. They don't have a red ball, and there's only a couple of us that play first class cricket in the squad. So I think right now, I think our focus is on T20 and 50 overs and making the final stages of these tournaments. And if we can make the final stages of these tournaments, then our push is that, sponsors, funding, our ranking goes up, and we get more funding through that way. I think Test cricket at this stage is not a focus, because it could be one of those things where we do really well, we get qualified, and then we play one Test in 2 years, which is just, it doesn't help. And for example, in my situation, I obviously play in New Zealand as a first class cricketer, and if the Dutch get full member status, then I will become an overseas in New Zealand. So then I can't play first class cricket in New Zealand, and then I have to only play one day in T20 for the Dutch. So I think right now it works well for the Dutch, that guys can come in, play, and then also go back to their local nations, be a first class cricketer. So maybe down the track, but right now T20 one day works well.
That's Logan van Beek. He's very honest. I think teams and countries need to be absolutely crystal clear about what their ambition is, Harmy. First class cricket in Nepal could work because there are so many cricketers, and it's a major sport in that country. And so they don't have to put a ceiling, I don't think, on their aspirations. But countries like the Netherlands and Scotland, Ireland. I mean, Ireland are a Test nation, but that word that Logan van Beek there was missing was ridiculous. He said, we only play one Test every 2 years, which is not helpful. But, having a first-class domestic structure in the Netherlands and aspiring to play Test cricket might not be reasonable. It might not be unreasonable for Nepal to hope that. But that point that you've been making for years and years and years is when teams go and play South Africa, stop and play Zimbabwe. When they go to England, play more cricket against the Netherlands, Scotland, and Ireland. And when they're going to the north of India, go and play three matches in Kathmandu.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for a long time. I think the two different ones, the Nepal one, they're probably closer to getting a structure like like Sri Lanka and like Bangladesh than what a Netherlands, an Ireland or a Scotland are likely to get anywhere near when it comes to England. So I agree with you on that. I think Nepal could potentially stand on their own 2 feet, but I think they probably need some help from an infrastructure point of view, and have a first-class team in either India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, whatever it is. The interesting one from the emerging nations in Europe, in this part of the world, and this is where I've been saying this for years as well. We keep talking about playing less cricket in this country. And this is a wild, I'm very, very good at up my mouth and stupid things and wild things coming out. But we all talk about playing less cricket in this country first class. But I don't think we've ever thought about exploring having more teams. And I'm not saying more teams as in Durham with the last minor county to come in. But all of a sudden, if you had Ireland, Scotland, and the Netherlands as first-class teams in England, that's 21. 3 groups of 7, 3 divisions of 7, gets you 6 games, and then that gets you 12, that gets you 14 down to 12. And then what you do then is you make sure that the Netherlands, Scotland, and Ireland have obviously 2 teams, have B teams, because you're going to need, because not everybody's going to be here, but you have them in the bottom division, and you have a first-class structure where they play 12 first-class matches a season. You're not then asking them to go in and have, it's not an international class. So the likes of Logan van Beek is not going to be classed as an overseas player if he went back to New Zealand because he's playing for the Netherlands, not as in an international game. But you're building a first-class structure there. And then on your club side of it, on a Saturday, every Saturday, you play the same way as the Australian play their grade cricket, where you play 2 innings. So you have 100 and odd overs, and you play the same team twice, and you learn how to play 4 innings games over 2 weekends. And that, for me, in them 3 nations, would all of a sudden start building bowlers into longer format cricketers. And then your best 11, best 17 players who are centrally contracted to you play 12 first-class matches. They play in the Blast. They play the Royal London 50-over competition. And English cricket has 21 teams in it. And all of a sudden, it goes to 3 groups of 7, which gets you 12 matches, which plays less cricket, but actually doesn't devalue the product. And that, for me, would be somewhere to start with how you get first-class cricket in Ireland, first-class cricket in Scotland, first-class cricket in the Netherlands. And all of a sudden, 2 teams come to England every year to play a Test series. And one of them misses out every year, and it just goes in a rotation. So instead of playing a warm-up game against Leicester second team, you play a 4-day match, 4-day non-official Test match against the Netherlands or Scotland, or you play a fully fledged Test match against Ireland in your build-up towards that. And I think if you did that for between 5 and 10 years, you would get longer format cricketers coming out of the Netherlands, coming out of Scotland, and they're already coming out of Ireland because we keep benefiting from it in England.
Yeah, well, the growth of T20 cricket is truly exciting, and I think we should be excited about that. I'm less excited about the growth of franchise cricket, but that countries like Japan and Fiji and so many around the world, and I just think that it's possible, isn't it, to grow the T20 game? It's so much more complicated. Even moving to 50 overs, you need. I think you need to have played probably multi-day cricket in order to play effective 50-over cricket. But the T20 product Harun Lorgat was the chief executive of the ICC in 2011, and this was his vision. He said, you know, one day we'll have a 20-team T20 World Cup, and I think when he said that, I couldn't suppress a giggle. And now look, you know, I mean, there are games which are exciting, and of course, smaller countries will need to pick their assets and you know and get grade cricketers from Australia with Italian grandparents and that kind of thing. I don't have a problem with that. I love it.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. I mean, I go back to my time playing cricket for Durham. Some of the best young players at Durham went on to play for England. Why did they go on to play for England? Because Mark Stoneman up the baton with Michael Di Venuto. He was an Italian with an English passport. You know, the middle order, the top middle order players that we produce. You know, they're battered with Dale Benkenstein. You know, our bowlers could only, I mean, our young bowlers, the Unknowns, the Plunkett's of this world, would only benefit having spending and playing with Otis Gibson. These players came and enhanced English cricket. The Kolpak players enhanced English cricket. A lot of people didn't like them. So and it comes back to, at this moment in time, 20 over cricket, the 20-team World Cup is brilliant, and it's been such a success. If you went to the next 50 over World Cup with 20 teams, it'll fall off a cliff because the emerging nations aren't up to being able to play 50 over cricket because they're not playing the longer format. So let's try and it comes back to what we've always saying at Manners, adults in the room. Don't look after yourself, look after the world game. The world game will look after you big time if the world game is thriving. And I sometimes think that gets misunderstood when you look at India's power, England's power, Australia's power. But without an Italy, without a Nepal, you know, on the world stage, the cricket would be so boring. This World Cup is showing that because we play 2020 cricket around the world and the shortest format brings everybody closer together, right, how do we get the longer format doing that? If we want the longer format to do that, or do we just want to live in a world where England play the Border Gavaskar, you play the Border Gavaskar, your Ashes and your Anderson and Tendulkar. They're the only three test series that anybody's interested in. And let's hit a white ball for 20 overs and let's make some money. If that's the way they want to go, the world leaders, then obviously we've got no choice. But I think the people who love cricket would like to see a 20-team 50 over World Cup. But we need the emerging nations to be playing longer format cricket for them to understand the difference between batting for 50 overs and just trying to hit the first 20 overs out of the ground and getting bowled out for 150. These are things I think if somebody, an adult in the room, was to grab world cricket, I think it would make it a much better spectacle around the world than just a 2020 competition, which makes a fortune. Yes, cricket will make a fortune if you put the best product on. But for me, if you're just going to go 2020 in 3 major test match tours, then I think cricket might be in a dangerous place.